Howdy, oh good neighbors. I'm here today with Kyla. Kyla. So what's going on, Kyla? What's on your mind?
Um, we've just been talking for like an hour, maybe half an hour for a while, and we're talking about religion mostly. But then at one point, my dad was going on about like things that kind of caused him stress, and then one of the things, and then he said at one point was that my brother doing school, but he said that he didn't stress about me and my sister doing school, because he never has to ask us to do anything about school. Like, we'll just do it ourselves. I thought that was interesting because it is true.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have to tell me to do my homework. I'm gonna do my homework anyway. Like, you don't have to tell me to do any of that, because when I don't want to fail, because you and mommy both taught me the importance of an education. Mm-hmm. If you don't have one, you're screwed. Like, what are you gonna do in this life? Sure, they're like, if you want to get famous or something, or do something like that, the chances of you getting famous is not gonna happen. To find a job without an education is so hard, and like, you just, whether it's hard or not, you just gotta stick through it and do it. And like, for a test, I'll spend days studying for it. Just because, and I'm not studying for anyone but like, I'm not doing it so that I can make you proud or make mom proud or anything, or that my teacher's happy with me. Like, I do it for me, so at the end of the day, when I get my report card back, I'll be like, I tried my hardest. Whether I did well or not, I'll know I tried my hardest. And it's like, I haven't told you my grade for physics yet. I had a physics test, and I studied for like a week straight, and I studied for hours and hours. I got my test back, and I got a 4.
Ooh, that's like 40%.
4 out of 10. And I looked at it and I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And it was a hard test. Everyone in the class, the average was a 4. Everyone in the class did terribly. But I was looking at it and I was like, I fully deserved the 4. And I tried everything I could. I did as much as I could, and I did terribly. I'm not proud of it. I can say I tried as hard as I could, but I have a physics test 2 weeks after I get back to school, and I know that I'll have to go through the same amount of studying, because I will have everything I did on my last test, and the next 2 weeks that will be on my test. They'll focus on the first week, because you can't have anything on the test of the week before, or at least a lesson or 2 before.
When you do a test and you get something wrong, does that help you learn for the next time?
Well, more so for this year, because last year, I'm in S4 now, so like, depends on what system you're in. Could be grade 9, could be grade 10. If you're doing a Luxembourgish...
No, you'd be like grade 9 for sure.
Yeah,
grade 9
if you're doing a
Luxembourgish
system, I would be in grade 10. Because in our Luxembourgish system, there's 6 years of primary. But in the international one, there's 5. And so I would be in grade 9 in the international. Luxembourgish, I'd be in grade 10. So it really does depend on what system you're in. But I'm in S4. And in S1 to S3, every test, once the test is over, it's out of my brain, I forget about it. I walk out of the classroom, I'll talk about it with my friends. For the next couple of days, I'll be thinking about it. Then it's out of my head. I look at the test, I get it back, I'll see what I got wrong, what I got right, and then I look at it, and then once I get the test back, I'm done. I won't think about it again.
Do the ones that you get wrong, do you ever look at it and think why you got it wrong and why the correct answer is correct? Or do you just notice what's wrong?
Well, it's not like...
Because I'd suggest that you look at why you got something wrong.
Generally, for a test, we will do a, what's it called?
A review.
A review on it.
A debriefing.
A review on it. We'll get, the answers for it. And the teacher will respond, either we'll do it on the board, or they'll give it as homework.
Does your teacher explain why, when you review it, does the teacher just go over and tell you what the right answer is? Or does the teacher also say why it's right and explain it?
Well, for subjects, that are like mostly logical, like science or math, they would give you the answer, and if you don't understand it, like if it's like a math question and you don't understand it, it's in front of you, the answer's in front of you. They will give you how to do it. If you don't understand how to do it, then it's not, like with logical things like math, I quite like math. I get fairly good grades in it. But I understand, like, it's logic.
I like math too.
It's purely logic. There are some things, and it makes sense. Like you go through the formulas and how to find it, and once you've got it down, it makes sense. And I also enjoy English because it is your own how you view things, and I also enjoy that. I call it bullshitting, and
Did you make that term up? Because I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
I think it's from Mum, but like.
I'm joking.
No, of course you've heard the term, but I don't know who taught me how to bullshit. I might have taught myself, but like especially in like.
I think it's in your blood.
It's in my blood.
Yeah.
My mum was an English major, and like you and Mum have made a point to try and like let us and make us think for ourselves and come with our own reasons for everything, and you've made a point for us to be able to think and find the answer ourselves. And I understand math because I can see the points of why we're doing this and blah blah blah. And with like English literature or something, which is basically all we ever do nowadays, is just analyzing poems. There's a point where it's because in our church we have like scriptures and it's in mostly Old English. So I've grown up listening to Old English and I'm fine with it, like I get it. But so what's my point? What's his name?
Logic.
Oh, in English.
You're talking about the logic, and then you're talking about the English and BSing. And
yeah, in English class, in our poems are like we're doing like Chaucer, and it's it's like kind of Old English, and I understand it. If you like give me like, you know how if you're reading in a different language and there's one word, like if I'm reading a text, I'm reading a book in French right now for my French class, my L2. And I'm reading a book and I will read over like a sentence or paragraph and I will understand the paragraph. But if a teacher asks me what this word means, I'll be like, oh, I have no idea. But I understood the context. So I was kind of able to figure it out in my head. And it's like that with like Old English. Like you just have to think a bit. You just have to think. And you're like, well, that is kind of obvious what this word means. If you've no complete idea, then you ask a question. But like, or in my case for my languages, you just Google it on the internet. You can Google almost anything on the internet if there's any word you don't understand, because everything's out there now.
What's important about questions?
Well, answers of you. What do you mean?
Well, I'm thinking of a particular phrase that I've said to you a lot growing up about questions. The importance of questions. The quality of your life
are based on the quality of your questions.
Based on the quality of your questions. That's right. Yeah. It's like learning how to ask questions is a skill. Right. That's really, you could say, about everything, whether you're talking about logic, whether you're talking about science, which should be based off logic. And like, for example, let's talk about boats as an example, right? It used to be that boats were made out of wood, primarily, or only, we'll say. It's like, well, we still get boats made out of wood, but they're not made out of wood based off of the original understanding. The original thought was wood floats, therefore we'll make a boat out of wood, right? Not just because it was a resource, right? But also because it floats. It's like, well, over time, if you actually understand that the law of buoyancy is not necessarily based off of having a material that is buoyant, it's actually a little bit more about water displacement, right? Which is why you can take a material like steel, and if you have the right shape of the hull, it displaces enough water, which allows it to float. So now you can have a steel boat. Steel doesn't float, but it does if you understand the law of buoyancy. Right now, I don't know a lot about the law of buoyancy, so this isn't really a topic that I can talk about. It's more the idea that if you ask questions, you can find out answers and progressively progress, right? And so, if you drop something, you'd say, well, if I drop it and it falls, and you pick it up and you drop it again and it falls again, and you keep doing that and it keeps falling, then it's like, okay, well, something's going on here, right? And you start asking questions and you start understanding gravity a little bit more. And then you start thinking, okay, well, what happens when I drop it and there's a wind blowing? What happens if I drop it at this angle or that angle, right? Depending on the shape of the object. So if this falls at this rate, and what happens if I drop a different material? What happens if I drop the same material but of a different size or a different mass? Or what are all the actual differences that we can discover so we can understand now this gravity as much as possible? It's like all these questions. And you can apply that to pretty much everything in your life as far as learning all of the questions to ask, the right questions, and therefore how to keep that line of questioning going so you can learn as much as you can and apply it as much as you can to have a better quality of life. Yeah. Questions are important. I like questions.
With questions, if you ask more questions, the more you'll be able to understand things.
I think that's really important these days too, especially because we have so much going on in the world, probably socially, where people are not asking enough questions. Somebody gets their opinion. They get their opinion on the current Israeli-Hamas conflict. They get their opinion on the Russian-Ukraine conflict. They get their opinion on the transgender issue, or on a some type of any issue, and they have their opinion, and that's it. And they're not willing to maybe listen to the other side. They're not willing to ask questions to try to understand. And Stephen Covey has one of his habits in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He says, seek first to understand and then to be understood. Right? And the only way you can understand someone or something else is to ask questions and then listen for the answers. And usually you probably find that most people are not so different. There's a lot of differences in the world for sure, that's for sure. But there's certain things that most people want and desire, right? People want to be loved by someone else, whether it's a spouse, whether it's kids, friends. They want to be respected or at least appreciated for the things that they do well. Most people probably don't just want to narcissistically have praise all the time. Maybe there are some who do, but genuine constructive criticism is also something I think people appreciate, so because it can be helping them to get better. But it's coming from just understanding each other, asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to know somebody, like when you meet somebody new, what is a good way to get to know that person quickly and develop a relationship with them, a good relationship with them?
I kind of struggle to make friends. If you give me the right type of person, like a big talker, once you get to know me well enough, I won't shut up. But if I meet someone, like, I will literally talk about anything and everything. But if I'm meeting someone for the first time, I will literally have nothing to say to them.
So how about this? Try to ask them questions. You can start with the regular new stuff, right? Like our original stuff. Like, so where are you from? It's like, okay, they're from, pick a country.
Ireland.
Ireland. Okay, so they're from Ireland. Okay, so really, now that you're here, were you born in Ireland, or is it your parents that are from Ireland and you were born here, Luxembourg? Right. It's like, oh, you're from Ireland. You were born there. Okay, what town are you from? How old were you when did you move here? What do you miss about Ireland? If you just start asking questions, and you get them speaking, and I think you'll find that they will really appreciate that, of you being genuinely interested in them.
They're just like.
And then that might actually turn around where they might ask, they might might not have, a list of, they might not be as good at asking questions because it's a skill, and so you've just asked them, I don't know, 15 questions, and they've spoken a lot about themselves. And so maybe at some point they want to now know about you. And maybe they only ask you 5 questions because they're not as good at asking questions as you are. But still, they want to reciprocate a little bit. So they start asking some of the same questions you ask them, they remember to ask you too. And so then you get to tell them a little bit about you. And now all of a sudden, you guys know a fair bit about each other. And you've kind of accelerated that process of getting to know each other. It's all about the question. It was a trick question. I wasn't changing topic.
Yeah.
Did you think I was changing topic?
Our original topic was school, and it changes a lot. I have this thing where if I'm trying to tell a story, there are little snippets that are not important at all, and I'll go off into them, and they're all individual stories.
Tangent.
I go on tangents every day.
Yeah, do you know what a tangent is?
Just what I said.
Well, it's a mathematical term, right? Because remember you said math, right? So if you've got a circle, okay, if you at any point leave that circle and take a straight line, that straight line where it meets the circle, that's basically a tangent. It's a force that's 90 degrees. I can't remember all the terms because I haven't done math in a long time. But the point is let's say we've got a string on a rope. We're going to take a sock because the dog had stole a sock. Right, this is the center of the circle. This is the outside of the circle. It's going like this. And then all of a sudden, it goes off. It's not bound by the force keeping this point to this point. So the sock's gone. So that means it goes off. It's 90 degrees, so it goes off at a tangent. So it's not following any longer the course of the circle. It's now gone off on a tangent. And that's also what it means when you're...
I've done it like...
When you're in conversation with somebody and they go off on a tangent, it's a mathematical term of a tangential force. The tangential force, somebody could probably comment on this one better too. That'd be like if you're in a ride that goes around in circles and you get pushed to the outside. That's because of that tangential force.
Gone off on like 10 different tangents in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. And when you talk about tangents in mathematics, in math class now, you'll understand it better on a deeper level. Tangents aren't bad necessarily. They can be really, really interesting when you keep going down this path and that path, and you keep going on this tangent, then that tangent, and this one, and then you're going all over the place. It can be really, really interesting. It can also be frustrating if you wanted to finish talking about this topic and you never finish it because you always, before you can finish it, you go off on something else. I guess that depends on your state of mind and what you're trying to accomplish and why you're conversing.
Do you hear that?
The whistle thingy in the background?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear it. Yeah. I wonder if it's a bird.
Do you think it is?
I don't know.
Do you think Cash killed a bird? Because Cash is our cat. He likes to murder birds and mice and bring them to us.
I haven't seen any mice or birds in a while.
Yeah, I know. That's because they're trying to keep warm. But you know about what's the word? Hibernation.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I used to think that because you say that hibernation, like I think mostly of bears, and they go into a cave,
Mm-hmm.
and I just thought that they slept for all of winter because they had a big meal before. Like this is what I picked. I don't know if this was ever in like a children's book or I made it up in my head, but I imagined all bears sitting at a dinner table eating all their dinner, like a big like Christmas dinner or something.
Yeah.
And then they just go to bed for the whole time, and then and then they wake up and they open this stone to their cave, and they're like, birds are out. It's the end of winter. And it's spring now, and that's what I always thought that hibernation was. It was a big long nap, and I've spoken to people, and that's what they thought it was as well, but it's not.
What is it?
They stay inside a lot.
They wake up and play cards every once in a while?
Yeah,
Really?
at the dinner table.
Are you sure they wake up?
Yeah,
How do you know that?
they can't just put themselves in comas. That's not.
I thought that's what hibernation is.
Is it?
That's what I thought.
See,
This is the first time I'm hearing anything different.
I don't like to talk on my stupid ideas in front of a lot of people, and so I let other people say it. Like Chloe, she'll gladly say stupid things, and people will like give her a reason as why that's actually stupid. I'm like, yeah, I see the logic in that, but like I also thought this for all of my childhood, is that they would just sit at a dinner table, eat all their food.
Well, I don't think they actually do sit at a dinner table. I mean, I'm going to call you out on that one.
That's just
But
what little me thought.
the only thing I'm going to call out, though, is I'm pretty sure that once they go to sleep, that they generally just stay asleep until they wake up in the spring.
Dad, they can't put themselves, because I thought that they eat as much as they could and then they're done. But if you think about it, they can't be asleep for months. They have to get their.
That's the meaning of
they have to
hibernation.
get
The
their
heart rate
nutrition.
slows down, like their metabolism slows down,
And
everything
they do
slows
sleep
down
a lot, but they also have to go out and still get food. And
Do they?
yes, they can't not.
Are you saying
If
that
you
because
think-
of your own logic or because
Yeah,
of
my
research?
own I haven't done research. I should do research.
I'm gonna go for the research on this one. I'm
We
gonna
should do
say
research.
I'm gonna say that they go to sleep and they pretty much stay asleep.
I don't think that's not possible. If you think of a human going into a coma, they're like an. If
Yeah,
they're
the
in
animal's not
hospital,
going
they
into a
have
coma. They're
IVs
going
and
into hibernation.
But
It's slightly
hibernation
different.
is kind of like a coma, but there's no possible way. It can't be logical that they literally fall asleep for months. They have to wake up. They have to get more nutrition so that they don't die.
That's why they eat so much before they go. It's not one last
Yeah,
meal.
but
It's like a whole bunch of like eating tons to get big fat stores.
But
They want
also,
the fat stores, which
once
one
they
keeps them warm but also nourishes them.
But once they wake up out of in spring is when everything's beginning to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So when spring starts, there's not a lot of food.
There's not a lot.
There's like, it's when everything's beginning to grow. You get a lot of oranges, tangerines.
I've never seen a bear eat an orange. I think they're more into berries.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of like
The
things that
fishies
grow
are
well
running.
in winter, and the tangerines.
Yeah, there's
aren't.
fish. There's berries.
Yeah, they could snack on them, but like.
Other animals.
Yeah, but if I'm thinking like human wise, is that like growing crops? Is it starting to grow in spring? So at the beginning of spring, there's not a lot of like food to go around. I don't know. I had this idea in my head. I read it in a book. I thought it off my own. I saw it in a movie. I don't know how I got there. But it's big, and it's just kind of logical to me. You can call me out on it. You give me a better reason, and I'll probably believe you. But like, everything's starting to grow. So what do you have? Not a lot.
Okay, well let's look at it the other way around though. If you've got winter and there's all this snow and everything, there's not a lot of food out there.
Yeah.
So maybe it's better. Maybe you're better off just sleeping. Because you're gonna waste a lot more energy walking around trying to find food. And if you never find the food because you need more energy and you have greater energy needs because you're actually walking around all day, then you're gonna be in a buttload of trouble because you can't find any food because it's freaking winter, right? So If you just go to sleep and you get really good at sleeping, where you can drop your heart rate right down, drop your metabolism, you can just keep on sleeping and sleeping. And then over time, the bear who sleeps the longest, you know, they're the best. The other ones die off because there's no food available. So then you get this slow adaptive change of being able to hibernate,
We
which is a
gotta do
deeper
research on
sleep
this.
than you going to bed at night.
I've never been taught this in school. I've never talked to anyone about this. I don't know anything about hibernation. Nothing, nada.
What's a deep sleep?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
like-
that. I know you're supposed to sleep for a long time.
Yeah.
But there is no possible way that they put themselves in basically comas for months and that they survive. That their body doesn't lose all of its muscle. That they just stay.
I bet you when they wake up in the spring that they're not like a spring chicken just like jumping around and doing great.
No.
It probably takes a little while for them to slowly wake up
Yeah, but...
and slowly get moving again.
And they need nutrition, but it's the beginning of spring and there's everything
Yeah, they
starting
find stuff.
to grow.
Beginning of spring, you get all kinds of stuff. There's like plants and everything, and
That are starting to grow.
they're starting to grow.
Starting.
I'm not a bear expert, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the long deep sleep hibernation thing. That's
I don't trust
my
that.
my vote. My vote's on hibernation. My vote and
It's
the
really
Sox
'cause
vote.
Our vote is what happens.
Vote doesn't
during
make it true. Doesn't make it
hibernation.
false. The vote doesn't matter.
We gotta watch like a YouTube video on it.
Yeah, we should.
Cause this is.
It's gonna plague you all night.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bear sleep. I mean / hibernate. Yeah, I'm going to that one.
When you know that there are these bunnies, and I thought that, you know how bunnies have burrows and they have they're like the little homes.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think that every animal had like a kitchen table and beds and blankets and stuff. Cause like, I had this box, and I still have it. It's in not a cupboard, but like not a dresser. Dad?
A cupboard, a dresser, an armoire.
That's a wardrobe. Bookshelf.
Bookshelf, yeah.
Bookshelf. It's on the bottom of my bookshelf, which is right next to my bed. And I had a dresser, and I used to play with dolls a lot, like doll figurines and stuff. And in my little dresser, I would have cloth, pieces of wood, and everything. And I would make like anything I could find in the house, I would take, and I would, if it was small enough, and I would put it.
Knives.
Not knives. It was a box. And I would take anything that I thought a little like I saw that a Christmas ornament, a Christmas decoration. I would break it apart and I would use it. Like that's their dinner. That's their food. I would take everything I could and I would make a little house, and I still have it. And I have little furniture. Because you also got me a dollhouse. Remember the
I remember that. I remember making that.
And it was Chloe hogged it. And like we also had it in a corner and we couldn't always use it all the time. And in my little box, I would take furniture from there and I would make little homes. And I also had like teddy bears, and they would also live in my box. And so I just had the idea that, you know, every animal had their own little box.
That reminds me of Rhonda.
Wanda?
Remember Rhonda, the doll in the Stuart McLean story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody was scared of.
Yeah, I can't really tell the story here because I don't remember it that well. I just remember that
I remember it.
Dave was scared of Rhonda, the doll,
His little
which was his
little
little
sister's doll. He was always scared of it, and I think like his sister would always scare him with it, and then it went into like the basement, and they lost it for a couple of years, and then when they were older, they got it out of the basement and they found it, and they remembered that he was still scared of it, so they tried to scare him with it, and he was still scared of it. So they would put it everywhere, like when he woke up in his chair in the morning for breakfast. Like they would put it everywhere, and they would just scare him with it.
I used to have a quasi doll. It was a snake.
What is quasi?
It wasn't really a doll because it was a snake.
What's quasi?
It means sort of, not really.
Okay.
Yeah. And what was it? My mom's cousin Deb, she had this a hood on a winter coat that had this furry thing, and I don't remember why or how or whatever, but she took that furry thing off and put eyes and a tongue on it, and it was now a snake, and so she gave it to me, and I had this snake, and I love the snake. It's a good snake. He served me well, and so yeah. Now Nana will deny this, but when I got my dog Cricket when I was like 10,
Did you eat it?
no, I remember
she?
distinctly that if I was going to get this dog, I had to give up Snaky. And I thought that was so mean.
Did
Now,
you
Nana,
make this up in your head? Or
I
did
don't know
Nana
because
enforce
Nana
it?
denies it. I spoke to her about this a few years ago, and she denies that. She thought that was crazy talk, and so I don't know what's in my head is not what's in her head. So I don't know. I don't know what's right.
There are some things where with you and with mom, like if I don't remember it, it didn't happen.
Oh yeah, like what?
I don't know. Nothing I can say.
Yeah, because it didn't happen. You punk.
Nothing I can say on the podcast. I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay.
But like, I think it's kind of funny to like, not like seriously gaslight people, but like with my friends and stuff.
You gaslight people like intentionally.
But it's obvious that I'm lying. Someone's like, oh, I brought my book. Do you know where my book is? What book? You never had a book. And they were literally telling me about the book. And I was like, you never had a book. And they know I'm lying. But for a split second, they look at me and they're like, I didn't have a book. And then they look at me like, Kyla, shut up. And everyone knows that I do this. And it's always so, because I'm not a very good liar, and I start laughing to myself, like, what book? You never
You
had
could
a
have some
book.
fun with that.
Yeah,
You could totally have some fun with
it's
that.
so funny. Like, oh, I lost my phone. Where's my phone? You never had a phone. What do you mean? And like, you gotta be a little serious with it in the beginning, and then if they actually believe you, like if they're little stupid and they actually believe you, you're like, you start laughing.
I don't know. Sometimes if you tell somebody enough times something, I think they'll eventually believe you.
Yeah, but like, if I'm lying to you that much, they'll never believe
I'm trying to
it.
think of this experiment. Like I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was along that idea where somebody, I don't know, it's like they're shown an answer. Like I'm going to make one up. I'm going to make it up just to get across the idea, right? If I'm the experimenter, I show you two cards. I have two cards, and I show you one, and it has the letter A on it.
Ace.
Right. It's an ace, so sure. And then I show everybody else a king. Right. And then I tell you all that you all were shown the same card. Right. This group is shown this card, that group is shown that card. And so now what happens is you're in the group and you know that every person in your group was shown the same card as you. Right? That's just one of the rules. So when they now start asking people what the card is, everybody in your group says that they saw a king.
You didn't doubt yourself.
But you saw an ace. But you doubt yourself enough that now you're starting to think, well, maybe I saw a king too.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what the percentage is, but a good high percentage of people, even though they were shown the ace, will say that they were shown the king. Now, I just made that one up because I don't actually remember what the study was exactly, but it was basically the same idea, that your perception or what you state to be factual is actually not factual.
Yeah. But
sometimes you actually start to believe it as well.
If you hear enough people say something, if you hear someone say something enough, you're going to believe it.
You can change your mind pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a different study. So this is a slight change of topic, but it's about rats, swimming rats, drowning rats. So it was something like you stick rats in water, and if it's the first time in the water, you just throw them in the water, they're going to die after 15 minutes. They're just going to drown, right? They can't swim any longer than 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you stick a rat in the water, and let's say you stick in like 10 rats, and at 15 minutes, they all die. Right? So then you stick in a couple more rats. And you know that, okay, well, you already did it with 20 rats, so you already know at 15 minutes you're going to die. So at like 13 minutes or 14 minutes, you take a rat out, you save him.
Next time, put them in, he'll last longer.
Next time you put him back in, he'll last like 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours.
Hours.
Like it's like significantly different. And the difference the researchers came up with, what their conclusion was that you gave the rat hope. The rat has hope now that it will be saved. And so it keeps going because it has hope that it will be saved.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very interesting implications in that, eh? As far as what you're actually capable of and how much your capability is linked to your emotional state or psychological state. Which then means, which way does it go? And can it go both ways? So what I mean by can it go both ways? Can emotional problems cause physical problems? And can physical problems cause emotional problems? Like when I'm at work, right, and I've got people coming in all the time for headaches and back problems and neck problems and this and that and everything. I think it's very rare that somebody comes in and says, "Yep, I just fell off my bike and hurt my back, or hurt my head." That's rare. It's rare that somebody comes in because they just had a car accident.
Yeah.
What is really common, like multiple times per week, somebody comes in for the first visit, and
they've had prolonged pain,
and they have had no problems ever in their life until 2 weeks ago when they picked up a bottle of water. They picked up a bottle of water and now they hurt their back.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Now I don't doubt the story. I don't doubt it at all. That's really common. What I'm saying is picking up that bottle of water was not enough to cause a problem. It was ongoing stresses that build up and up and up over time. And now there's a straw that breaks the camel's back. But that's whether it's physical, emotional, or chemical, combination of everything.
There's a word, and you asked me what makes
hysteresis.
Hysteresis. It's the prolonged amount of pressure causes a break. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It causes a weakening at least.
Weakening.
That's so history. That would be like you take a metal coat hanger, you bend it, and it bends. You bend it, and it bends. And you keep bending it, bend it like 50 times, and on the 51st time it breaks. But you could say, well, it broke. I bent it and it broke. Like, well, no, that's not the whole story. The whole story is that you first bent it 50 times and then it broke. Mm-hmm. And it would not have broken unless you first bent it 50 times because the material gets weakened over time. And that's, you could say it's kind of like that with the person bending over and picking up a bottle of water. It's that hysteresis effect which causes a problem gradually that you don't know is there until it's there. But then again, it's like, well, yes, the problem was ongoing for a long time. You can also say, was it really that they kept physically doing something wrong that caused it? And that's where I would say, actually, probably the emotional stresses also are a big part of that. Mm-hmm. Probably, I would say, a much bigger part than what most people think. I'd probably suggest closer to 80-85% of all the problems that I see, although for everybody coming in, they think it's physical. I would say 80-85% of the problems I see are actually emotional. I'm not saying that the other 15 are physical. I'm not saying 85 people out of 100, it's an emotional problem. Mm-hmm. I'm saying the percentage for each person is probably about 80-85%.
I find that, like, when I'm sick, if I'm, like, throwing up, if I'm in pain or something, I'm not gonna be particularly nice. Like, I'm gonna be like, get out of my face, can you please just get me like a cup of water? Like, I won't be very nice. I run out of patience and I'll feel bad while I'm doing it. Hi, Nan. Hey. I'll feel bad while I'm doing it and I'll feel bad afterwards when I'm not like sick anymore. But like Chloe, my sister, when she's sick, she's just really nice, or at least she was.
She gets very nice when she's
like a couple years. Like she just got very nice, And my mum used to joke that once Chloe's not nice, so that means she's sick. But I'd be like, that's crazy because I always get incredibly mean. And it's, yeah, and I think that's weird. It's also, like, it does, like, differ on the person. But if someone, like you, with your surgery, you've been feeling down lately because you haven't been able to go to hockey, you haven't been able to get around moving, which is like your therapy, is physical movement, and you haven't been able to go to work, you haven't been able to get around and do as much things for yourself, you lose a little bit of independence, and that makes you feel like a burden to other people.
I thought you were going to say loser.
No, you told me many times, like, I didn't want to ask you to do this, but can you go get me that? I'm like, of course. Like, I have absolutely, like, no problem with, like, helping you out if you're sick. Like, absolutely none. You had me running up and down the stairs to your room to get different things at different times. And, you know, I didn't mind. I didn't care. Like, it's absolutely
Was
no
I being
problem.
rude? Was I being nice?
Yeah, I fed him.
Okay, just let him out.
Was I being Kyla or Chloe?
You were so, like, chilled. You were happy. You were in pain, but you were never rude. And it was like, I felt like so bad, and I was like, I did not care the fact that I was running up and down the stairs. Like, it meant absolutely nothing to me. If you're in pain, I'm going to help you, and it's fine. But if you're rude to me while you're in pain, I'm not gonna help you. And that's just.
I try not to be rude when I'm in
You
pain.
definitely
I definitely
weren't
try
at
not to.
all. I was a little, like, shocked a bit that you weren't. I was like, then who the hell do I get it from? Oh wait. And then, like, I was like,
I'm not going to answer that question.
and I was like, I was really, like, what's the word? I was really shocked in a good way that, like, you were just chill, like, you were good the whole time. But obviously I could see that, like, you weren't as happy as you were before you had the surgery, because before the surgery you had, like, your own outlets. Now you just have to sit everywhere and have things not done for you.
I've been eating so much ice cream, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And chips.
And before,
I've already put on like 5 kilos, I think.
And before, when you could go and burn that off, do hockey, do everything you wanted, you'd be perfectly happy to do all of it. But now you have a bit of guilt because now you're like, I don't get to burn it off. I'm just sitting here.
Yeah.
And you have said that. And, like, me personally, I don't do a lot of, like, physical activity. Like, obviously I walk a lot. Oh, I'm gonna go on a
You
tangent.
walk a lot?
Yeah. So
Do you take the dog with you?
when I'm out and about, in the mornings, when I take the bus, I walk.
I thought you were going to say when you wake up early and take the dog for a walk before you go to school. No.
Too
Okay.
early for that. I wake up and I'm a very, very slow walker.
Right.
Some people say it's because I'm short, but that's just not it. It's mindset. But honestly, unless I'm in a rush to go somewhere, you don't need to walk
Sometimes
fast.
you got to just appreciate what's around you. Like, just take it easy.
Just
and
listen to your music, have fun.
Yeah, see what's going on.
I'm a very,
And
very
get in a
slow
zen
walker.
state while you're walking.
Just slow walking is fine. I like walking. Like, it's nice. And so every morning it'll take me about 10 minutes to get to the bus stop. And it's downhill.
Yeah,
basically
you could
the
just,
whole way.
who needs to walk, you can
And
just
then
roll,
you just have
maybe slide.
You see me on, like, mornings when it's snowy and slushy, like, all the way down takes me 3 minutes.
Just take the slide, it's a toboggan. It's a toboggan down the hill.
Yeah. And then, like, when I get off the bus and I'm walking home after school, it'll take me like 15 minutes because I'm slow and I'm uphill.
It's uphill.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
slide.
you can't ever underestimate, gravity going uphill. It's quite a struggle, especially at the end of the school day.
Yeah. It's so sucky. And
It takes a good 20% off.
so
off of your speed, I meant.
Yeah. So I walk at least 20 minutes a day, and I have a massive school. It's actually not that big compared to GCI.
Yeah.
I think it's big. I think it's really big. And I found photos on Google because I was showing photos of my school to my friends at other schools, and they're like, "That looks really big." I'm like, "Yeah, it is really big," and and it's a big school, and my schedule this year is an absolute mess, up and down, everywhere. And my
You should
main
sprint.
hallway, I should.
Yeah. I used to do that. I'd
it's-
sprint up the stairs.
Yeah.
If I was going to go up the
Really
staircase,
funny-
I would never go fast if I was walking. I would just walk the halls. I was chill.
Yeah.
But give me a staircase, I'd fly up that sucker.
What is my point? My no. Oh, tangent. In the S1s, the first years in secondary, the first year that you are in secondary, people think that you should just run to every class or to lunch. Like someone's gonna kill you.
Kobe
if you
did
don't get
that.
there on time.
Kobe used to run to classes.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to make sure he wasn't late. He hated the idea of being late.
I hate the idea.
Isn't
of
that
being
such
late.
a change in personality? Because now it's like you can't even get him to go to school, let alone be on time.
I'll talk about that when I'm done. My little.
I wonder if he's going to see this at 46 minute. Don't ever say anything to him, and we'll find out, because then he'll come back to us and tell us.
Probably won't. He might.
He might,
He
though.
probably won't. So, in S1, people like to run. What is the point of running to the lunch line? You're gonna get food regardless. There's no point running.
Maybe they're worried that there's not going to be anything left of what
It's
they
like
want.
they have fear in their core that's like, if I don't run, I won't get food. It's not true. Like, you're fine. And they just get so, and it's just seeing them run down the hallways, it's just like, what are you doing?
They'll figure it out. Did you run down the whole day when you're in S1?
No, never.
You're always chill?
I'm always like, what's the bloody point? And every now and then you'll see this, someone just stick out their leg. You see them tumble over because you get tripped while they're running.
I remember getting sent to the principal's office once by my music teacher, Mr. Croft, something like that, Krupp. And he was so angry with me because I was walking slowly into his class. And he thought that I was just always taking my time and didn't want to be there, etc., etc. And he's like, you're the fastest kid in the school, and yet you walk into this class dragging your feet every freaking day. And so he just sent me to the principal's office, and I'm just like, whoa, dude, that was a bit over the top, eh?
Yeah.
And the reality is I always just walked slow everywhere. And to me, it was like conservation of energy, so I could run fast after school. Put me on the track, I'll go faster. Otherwise, taking it easy, brother.
So,
chill out.
Yeah, I walk slow. People trip the running kids. I think it's so funny because if you're gonna run for no reason, you might as well get tripped. It's funny for everyone else.
Yeah, they deserved it.
Yeah.
Punk.
So I never run anywhere. And
Show them
my point. Oh, so late. My mom always late to everything, and she sees no problem with it, and that's always pissed me off since I was a kid. I would sit. Yeah, I would sit at the. So, all my brothers, there's an age difference of 2 years, 4 years, and then 8 years. So, Cameron. 8.
Okay, I was thinking in reference to who and who.
Cameron.
Okay,
is
so
8
you meant
years.
for
Luke
you and Kobe.
is 4 years.
Right.
Luke is Kobe is 2 years. Luke is 4 years.
Yeah.
Cameron is 8 years.
Yeah, I was just counting different. I was counting from Cameron to Luke to Kobe to you guys. So that's why I was confused, because you were counting.
Mm-hmm.
The reference point was different. You always have to. Your reference point's always important in life.
Yeah, I go youngest to oldest, and yeah. So most of the time, my brothers were in the higher.
No, all of the time they're
all of the time they're in the higher.
They were never below you.
But Cameron, he was always in by the time I was in primary, he was in secondary school, and so where I went to primary school, secondary school's here, down the road, primary school, and it's basically attached, kind of basically, but there's a big yard in between, and the boys would get dropped off outside of the high school, and they would get off at the lights, and they'd walk right at the entrance, and I would get dropped off also at my entrance, and there were these guards, and I just say hello to them every day, and I walk into the empty halls because time was over. But it always made me so mad that I was late. I would literally be sitting at the door like crying or something, because my mom and my brothers, they would refuse, and Chloe, everyone but me, they would refuse to get out of the house on time. I'm like, why? What is the point? Like, there's no point in making me late for no reason. And honestly, it didn't really matter. But like, if you have a child that cares that much, why not?
Yeah.
And
I like being on time.
Yeah.
For most things, actually, for me, it depends on what it is. But depending on what it is, I will absolutely make sure I'm not just on time, but early.
And the one thing I hated.
And then so there's other things, it's like, yeah, whatever.
The one thing I hated most about being late was not only that now I had to do extra work. Like at the end of the class, I was a little bit behind, because at the start of the class, you'll get the explanation of what you're doing, the explanation of the exercises, and then you get the exercises. By the time I got to class, there are the exercises. I don't have an explanation. And one thing, there's this one kid in my primary class. As soon as I opened the door, he'd go, "Kyla, why are you late? Look how late you are." And I'm like, I hate you. And it, like, every single day, and
especially when it's not your fault.
Yeah, and I wasn't even friends with him. He thought it was so funny. It wasn't funny.
Kyla, so nice for you to join us today.
Yeah, and I have a kid like that in my class now, and it's just like, but he only does it to his friends, and I'm not his friend, so he doesn't do it to me. But now I take the bus every day to school, so I'm not late. But now I don't care about being
You're still late sometimes. Whenever your mom drives you, you're late.
If I don't want to have to walk in the morning in the cold, I'll get my mom to drive me. Or if I want to sleep a little longer.
And what percentage of those times are you on time?
0. Literally never. Never, ever on time. Ever. With mom. I think the earliest I've ever been with mom driving me is 10 minutes late. Yeah. One time she got me 20 minutes late for a test. That was first period.
Ooh.
I was like, oh, come on.
That's rough.
I was like, can I sleep a little longer? Because I stayed up really late studying. And a little longer is literally half an hour. That's my little longer. And at the end of the day, it's not worth it. Just get your butt to school as fast as you can. If you have a test first period, I learned that the hard way.
I think I was always on time for school. But that's how I got good at running.
Were you driven to school?
No, I wasn't. Not for high school. I was never driven to school. Sort of. Sometimes I would drive with a few friends. Like if somebody had a car for the day, then we'd all sort of drive together.
I think
like if I had the car for the day, I would like call up a few people the night before and say, "Hey, I got a car tomorrow, so I'll drive you. I'll pick you up."
I think that's so cool.
And everybody else do that.
You get to drive at 16.
Yeah.
That is so
driving
cool.
at 16 is better than 18.
I would love that. I would love that so much. Like, my two closest school friends live in the other village, like next to us. And if we had, and they go on one school bus, and me and my sister would go on the other school bus, because my bus comes here and their bus comes from up there and takes them to school. And we literally, like, it's about, I'm a slow walker, it's about a 30-minute walk to one of their houses, and then like a 40-minute walk to the other person's house. We used to, a couple summers ago, we used to ride bikes to each other's houses every single day and just hang out.
You should do that in the spring.
We got buses now.
But you should walk. Beautiful sunny day.
Oh, that's what I was talking about a long time ago, was walking. So at least 20 minutes of walking every day, and then walking in the hallways. And also, so on weekdays, I'm not allowed to go out unless I'm going to a friend's house to study, or unless there's an exception, like I need to buy a present for birthdays, or like Mother's Day, Father's Day, or exceptions like that, which like literally a few times a year, or like stuff like that where I do go out, but that's not really a lot of walking. But during the week, I'm not allowed to go out except for on Fridays. I go out every single Friday, and I go out with friends, and I love to bike. We bike everywhere, especially in the summer, and we walk everywhere.
Good. They've got another stop now with those bikes just outside the bank in Niederanven.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
they had the one that was over by the basketball hall, but now they've got another one.
Right next.
But now they've got a new one right by the bank.
I wish they'd get one closer to us so I could bike.
That'd be neat. That'd be good.
But yeah, I love.
But still, at least right from there, you can drop it right there and then take the bus the rest of the way.
Especially if like we have nothing to do. Like Luxembourg is so small. Like there's literally nothing to do unless you use money.
Everywhere in the world is so small.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, Hesper was so small. Galt was so small.
No, but Luxembourg is so small. Yeah. Like unless you have money to like there's literally nothing to do here except for waste time. Unless I have a set thing to do, you're doing nothing but waste time.
You
so
should
you walk, you
talk to Connie again about potentially doing jiu-jitsu. Weren't you guys talking about doing that?
Yeah, we did a couple of fighting sparring things in a field during summer.
No, but taking lessons.
I don't have time. School is eating me up.
Anytime.
But yeah, like there's nothing to do but kill time. And why would you want to be at home when you could be out and about? And like just walking everywhere, biking everywhere. No one else I know is as keen as biking as I am, but it's great. I love biking everywhere because why would you not? And I love going on little adventures with the bikes, and you go absolutely everywhere. At least in the area that I'm at. I won't go biking here because there are no other decisions here. I'm not going to go to a random village and go biking, but like in the general area I've got down kind of. But yeah, so on Fridays, it's winter now, so there's a lot of more rain and everyone else is whining and no, I don't want to go biking, blah blah blah. So I haven't gone biking a lot now. I'm sad about that. I need to go biking again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you got me a bike, it would be absolutely no use because I wouldn't. I go biking on Fridays and Saturdays, and I use the city bikes.
Yeah, those are convenient. They work.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna like go biking around here in the village or in the forest or something, just because like if I were to go out and do some type of activity like that in the village, I'd bring the dog, and I can't bring the dog on a bike ride. I have not mastered
I take him on bike rides.
I have not mastered balance like that, and I do not trust him to come.
Did you say I have not balance?
I have not mastered balance on a bike.
I have not balance. That's like old school English. I have not balance. I have not balance.
I have balance. Not.
I have.
No,
but I haven't any balance.
I can ride a bike holding one hand, but I'd have to hold it with my dominant hand, and then to hold on to the dog with my non-dominant hand and to try and hold him, it would not work. I would fall.
He can help pull you up the hill though, and then actually once I get to the forest, I let him off lead anyway.
Yeah, but see, he comes back to you because you're his favorite person. He doesn't come back.
Doesn't
to
come back to you?
Mm-hmm.
He will eventually.
If he's off in the forest and he sees a deer or a bunny,
if he sees a deer, he's gone with me too. But then he does come back. But even still, he'd come back home. Once if you come home, he'll come home.
Yeah, see, no, if I'm planning on doing any type of activity like that in the village, you bring the dog and you just go on a walk.
Yeah.
But there was like a couple summers ago where we would go biking every single day.
Yeah.
Do you remember on the birdwatch loop?
Yeah.
Every single day.
We're gonna do some more walks out there in the summer.
Yeah, I love biking. I hate hiking with all of my heart, and I'm sorry for that.
I'd never take you on hikes. I just go for a little walk with you. Mom calls it a hike. It's not a hike. It's a walk.
No, but like when I was younger.
For me, hiking.
You would take me on hikes when I was
younger.
younger.
For me, a hike is like big ups and downs all day long. Backpack with your stuff in it. But going for a walk for an hour and a half, that's just a walk.
See, when I say walk, I mean like where we went in Canada in like 2018. Went to Banff and other places.
Well, you could say that's a bit of a hike, yeah.
That's
a bit of a hike.
It's a hike. It's 100% a hike. And I hate it. If I don't know...
I love that. You're in the mountains. You're in the freaking mountains. You don't love that? I love that.
I don't appreciate like views as much. If I'm look, if I get like a picture of the sea, like someone like my mom, she could sit at the sea for hours and just watch the wave crash and blah. But I'm just like I'm good. I'm done. Or like the mountains.
Get on with it.
Look at it. It's like mountain.
There it is.
There it is. And there I go. Bye. Like, it's not. I don't appreciate the views as much. Like, views to me that I like to watch is like kind of like perceptions on things, on like in like TV shows.
Abstract art.
Cinematography. Abstract art kind of makes me angry. If I prefer like, what's his name? René Magritte. I think that's it. He's an artist I'm doing research on currently for an art project. And his mother, when he was 13, she committed suicide by drowning herself. And a couple days later, when they found her body, he was there, and her dress had kind of like draped over her face a bit. And so in later years, he made a series of paintings where people's heads were covered in cloths and you never saw their face. He's the guy that did the the painting where the guy, instead of a face, he has an apple. He's got a top hat. He's the guy that did that.
Okay.
I don't know if I butchered his name, but so he does not draw faces. There's one painting where it's the guy with the top hat, but instead of an apple for a face, it's just an orange. It's like a big orange blob, and he's got like little features in the middle, like tiny, and it's obscured. But it's like, I find that interesting. It's kind of abstract, but not really. And like, when I think abstract, I mean like someone throwing paint on it and blah blah blah. I don't like that. There's like,
I saw this thing this guy did. It was so cool. I'm gonna have to stop this really soon because I'm getting really tired here. But what the guy did is he put this big canvas out on the floor, and above the canvas he had a rope tied to the ceiling.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
And then at the bottom he had a bucket, and he put the holes in the bucket. So he filled up the bucket with, and he spun it, and then he just threw it. And so then it was like spraying paint, and he did it once with white, and then he did it with colors. That was pretty darn cool.
Art like that, like if you look at it, it's pretty. I could look at it for a minute or two. Like, yeah, sure, it's pretty, but I will never think about it again.
Yeah,
but I prefer.
And I probably wouldn't think about it either. But it's more the fact that it was a different idea, different approach to making art.
Yeah, but like, you see the painting, you'll think about it. Like, if someone just shows you the painting and be like, this was my forethought: bucket, paint. But if I'm talking to me personally.
Yeah.
If I see that, I hear that, I'm like, good for you. You found a new way to paint. But like with the thing about his mother and the dress over his head, there's
that's
that much
more depth, right?
and detail, and there's an actual backstory and reason behind why you've done it. I could look at that painting and I could think about it, and I'd actually like remember.
Yeah, because it actually has meaning. The example I used was just a different way of producing art, but it didn't really have meaning to it so much. There was a statue that I really like that I saw in a picture. I've not seen it. I don't know if I've seen it in real life or not. But it's of a guy sitting on a park bench. He's made out of steel, but his whole belly is just a circle and it's empty, so you can look right through. And he's sitting down and he's bent over with his head, and it's like he's looking through his belly, which is empty. And that one gripped me. That one gripped me because it was like, sometimes your soul just feels empty. And it's that self-reflection on what makes me me, right? Like, you can cut off a leg and you're still you, and you're still alive. But when you take out the middle, you're dead. And sometimes it feels like, sometimes it feels like you're dead because you're not dead, because you're still alive, right? But I mean, sometimes you feel like you're nothing. Sometimes you feel like you have nothing. Sometimes your grief is so large that there's just nothing left to you. And that one, I have no idea what the history is behind that, or what the meaning is behind that, to the person who created it. But that one touched me a lot. That one made me feel like I feel like that statue.
Once you have like your own interpretation of it, if you have a background of the artist's interpretation of why he did it, you could just sit and think about that forever. if someone gave me the background and their reasoning for why they did an abstract painting, I could look at that and think longer about it and actually care about it.
And that's what we're talking about the museum too, where I said things could be really interesting, particularly if you had a guide who could explain to you more about the artist and the meaning and etc., the process behind what was going on, rather than just going to a museum and just looking at stuff.
Yeah.
Which could be really boring.
I've always hated museums since I was a kid. I love history. I really love that stuff, but take me to a museum. I could not care less. But like, I'm really interested in history and stuff like that, and I enjoy my history class, and I enjoy stuff like that. And there's a book series as well. My brother's read. I don't think I ever read it. Not that I can remember. It is targeted at children. It's called Horrible Histories.
Oh yeah.
And it is.
It's interesting though.
I love it. It was like historical stories, and they would make comical skits out of it, and it'd make you laugh, make you funny. And it would make it funny, and it was enjoyable, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And it was making history fun, and so I like it, and I always think of that.
Yeah, I had one history teacher in university who was really, really good. It's the same kind of thing too. Like I didn't like English literature in high school, but I had one professor in it my first year of school, university, who was fabulous. And so I ended up continuing in English literature and getting a minor in it mostly because of that first professor in university. And then I had a Shakespeare professor, James Brown, who was so good. It was the same kind of thing. And then this history professor as well. And again, the teachers can really have the opportunity to make a class really interesting or break it. Yeah, make it terrible.
I have always liked English class. All of my primary teachers, as far as there's some I liked, some I hated with all of my heart. But as far as in secondary, I had 3 this year. I had they just changed because my school is very unorganized. The first year, I won't name names. The first year I had a teacher, and terrible at her job. I felt like she should be teaching a 3rd grade class. We spent the entire year reading Dracula, the little play.
Dracula.
And it was a dumbed down version of the play, and it was the stupidest thing in the world. And she was gone for the first half of the year anyway, because she was scared of COVID. And it was just this, I always hated her class. It was a brain dead class, and I hated the way she spoke, and I hated her accent. Not as much as accent as her voice, and it made me want to drill a hole in my head. Or no, her voice was drilling a hole in my head. And then I had a teacher. I had her for S1, S2, first 2 weeks of S3, and then she was gone. And then I got a teacher, Mr. Lofi, and he is a phenomenal teacher. He's great. And he was in the board for the school. He hadn't been a teacher for a long time. And you could just tell that he really missed teaching. And so he got the opportunity to be our teacher, to be our class teacher, our head teacher. And he was great at his job. He was a good teacher. And I really, over all of the English teachers I've had, I prefer his style of teaching.
That reminds me of Darren. You remember Darren? Kimmer's husband?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's always just remained a teacher, because that's what he loves to do. Now, my understanding is that he's had the opportunities to move up and become more of an administrator, but he's always turned it down because he just loves teaching. He loves working with kids, and he just loves that part of the job. And I think that's so respectful, just to
I had
stick to what you like.
Yeah, and so you could just tell that he missed having a class and being with kids, and he missed it because he's a great teacher, and he's funny. He doesn't. He's the type of guy he's not trying to crack jokes per se, and but he's funny, And he's just a funny guy. And he's a great teacher. And I'm so sad I don't have him this year anymore because my English teacher now is disgraceful. He's terrible. I hate him with all of my heart.
That's minute 70. So I'll send a link
To Mr. Luffy.
to your current English teacher to say, have a look.
It's like, go talk to Mr. Luffy, get some tips. And I also had this math teacher. I like my math teacher this year as well. Last year I had an Irish one. His name was Mr. O'Boyle. And he is also amazing. And I love the way he taught. He was the first time since primary where I got 10s out of 10s. He does grade very well, and his tests are pretty easy. But I love.
Are they
the
easy
way
because he
taught.
dumbs it down, or is it easy because he did a good job of teaching you?
A good job of teaching, and the classwork was hard, and but once you got the formulas down, once it's all logic. Once you got it down, you can do hard questions. You can do easy questions. You can do it all with ease if you have the formula in your head and you understand.
So this is something that I spoke about with Chloe a bunch of times, because when she was doing the 6-hour math class, the harder one, and I spent a lot of time with her doing homework, and that was sort of the key, was that, okay, here's the teaching, right? Here's what they teach at the beginning of the lesson, the concept. Here's the formula to be able to apply it, and then they basically just ask you to apply the same formula, but the questions get harder and harder, but they're not harder. They're trying to deceive you.
Yeah.
They give you additional information that you don't need. But ultimately it comes down to, here's the formula, what do you know, and what do you need to find out? That's the same thing with almost every math question, is figuring out what you know and what you don't know, and apply that to the formula. And so when you get to the end of the exercise, they get like 10 different questions. Number 10 is like the hardest one, but if you just remember what the question is to find out the unknown, and you just figure out what you have, and it's the same principle, and it's not nearly as hard as what most people make it out to be, because most people let the additional information deceive you. That's like a life lesson. It's a life lesson. Know what you know and know what you don't know, and don't be deceived by the rest.
I loved my math teacher. In S1 and S2, I had a different teacher, and his work in class I understood, but his tests were like 10, 12 pages long, and they were so hard. It was so hard to finish the test, to pass it, or at least pass it. Like, it was such a hard class. And even if you did understand it, like, I was pretty slow to understand it. And I really did hate math in S1 and S2, but in S3, Mr. O'Boyle did change it. He made the subject, and he really encouraged me to take Math 6, because you get a choice, Math 6 or Math 4, once you get to S4. And I chose Math 4 because why the bloody hell would I want 2 hours extra of math when I could, like, go home? Like, it made no sense. There's no point having extra hours of school at this age. And I was like, absolutely not. And I'd already been kind of had a guess of who would be the math teacher for Math 6. He's a monster. So I'm like, no. I had no idea who the math teacher for would be. I was hoping it would be Mr. O'Boyle, but it wasn't. He didn't take any S4 classes this year. But yeah, he was. I miss Mr. O'Boyle. I see him in the hallways. I love him. And this year I have another teacher. I like him. His name is Mr. Santiago, and I love his way of teaching as well. And his tests are like, his questions are just as hard as what we do in class, and he's a great job of explaining stuff. And like, he's a good teacher, and he made the subject. And it really is all dependent on your teacher, because a teacher can make or break a subject. I like Luffy.
I wish more teachers were good.
I don't understand
because
why
when you get a really good teacher, you
into the
really appreciate
profession.
them. But
Yeah.
I don't understand why more of them can't
Like-
can't have that enthusiasm.
Like the teacher for Math 6, he literally tells the kids that he hates them all. Because you know what? Why on earth would you be a teacher
Mhm.
if you don't like kids, you don't teach them? I mean, maybe when he got into the job, he did like kids, and he did want to make a difference in kids' lives. But then after a point, you realize that you do hate them all, and you get fed up with them.
I wish you had that on video. Post that on social media.
But there we are.
Yeah, him saying, I don't like you guys. You're kids. You suck.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here.
He did say, my friend in Math 6, he's like, all of you are gonna, by like when you get once you take this test, half of you will end up in Math 4. Because if you do bad enough, you can go down in Math 4 or something, I don't know. But like he's just like a bad teacher. He's really rooting on everyone to fail. And I don't know why. Like, it's your class, it's your responsibility to make them do well. And if your entire class is doing bad, you're the problem. Like, your entire class is failing and they were doing well last year, you're the problem. Your teaching isn't getting well across. They don't like you. Like there's a reason that people are doing bad. And there's a common denominator.
It's common. It's common that people like to just point the finger somewhere else without looking at themselves as well.
Yeah, especially teachers.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sweetie pie, we're gonna wrap this up. I'm exhausted. I either have to go to bed or I need to eat ice cream. Because the ice cream will wake me up.
Are you waiting till Mum and everyone gets home?
No, because I have no idea what time we get home.
Should I wait?
No, you should.
I need to finish my schoolwork.
You
I
should do
need
that
to
then.
read a book in French class, an entire book, because I haven't read it at all.
Then we should close up. You should go read.
My brain doesn't work.
See you later, everybody. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.